Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Public schools in Arizona and around the country are facing serious issues regarding funding, teacher retention, and declining student achievement. Earlier today, the head of the National Education Association, Becky Pringle, joined us to discuss these and other issues. Becky Pringle, it's so nice to meet you. Such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to talk education, and my first question is the state of public education in America right now. What do you see?
You know, I taught middle-level learners, 8th grade mostly, the wonders of science for 31 years. 31 years before I became an officer in the National Education Association. And so I've seen a lot of things I have throughout my many years in public education. Right now, the attacks on public education itself are at an all-time high. And as I look around the country, state by state, but most especially at the federal level, those attacks are vicious. They're aimed at teachers themselves, but mostly they're aimed at the system of public education, which we understand is at the foundation of this or any democracy. And we have to fight to make sure that it exists for our kids.
Why do you think those attacks are happening?
I'm very clear about why those attacks are happening. You know, my dad was a history teacher, so he had 3 girls, and he'd always sit us down and say, "Rebecca, you need to know history, your history, family history, American history, and world history, and you'll always see throughout time, and no matter where you are, the rise and fall of societies and empires and governments, and it always starts when whoever is in a position of power tries to take away the right to learn of those citizens, and that's what we're seeing right now in this country.
That's what we're seeing with public education, but it can be argued that private education is on the upswing. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I'll go back to what I said, public education, the right of every student to a free, universal, quality public education is core to a democracy. And so while private education has existed in this country forever, it is the responsibility of the government of this country at every level, local, state, and national, to protect that right of public education. And any siphoning of money, tax dollars, and putting it into private school then erodes that right.
And that is a big issue here in Arizona. Education vouchers, ESAs, but they're vouchers by any other name. They're very big here, and do we have a federal voucher system now? Is that in place, or is that just being talked about?
Oh, well, in the big, bad, terrible, really no good bill that passed out of Congress, indeed, there was a federal voucher program that was included in that. And the impact of that is not here in Arizona too. That absolutely has an impact, even though you were down the road in terms of vouchers. But in those states where they don't have federal voucher or where they don't have vouchers, it provides that avenue to erode that public funding from those public schools. I visited a school today that talked a lot about that, and it's not only private schools, but in many cases, those market-driven charter schools too, which are siphoning money out of the public schools, which necessarily means that our public schools are left with fewer resources, and more times than not, the students who need the most money, the majority of resources, higher amount of resources to educate them, in particular our students with disabilities, they are sent back to our public schools, but the funds are not. And by any measure, we know that is an unfair way to have a system, and we know that impacts every single student in that school.
And that emphasis on public education that you're talking about, I want to talk about those who support vouchers in Arizona, because it does go back and forth, and certainly most of the state legislature, not a lot, but the majority, Republican majority, say that it is important to have students and parents give them a choice to get out of a failing school and into the school of their choice with their money. How do you respond to that?
So let's be clear. Voucher schemes have existed in this country for quite a long time. And we have learned a lot since that. You know that they were put into place in a way, and we talked about it in this way, that it was good to have competition. That vouchers would bring about higher student success, and all of those claims were made. That never came to fruition. That never became true. And so these schemes that were touted as a way for students to have greater success, that in fact was not the case. We know that with the passage of voucher laws in most states, those students who get those vouchers are students who are already going to private schools. So these are students that are the families that already had their students in private school, and now they're getting tax dollars to actually pay for that private school. And that the schemes, regardless of what you call them, are all designed to destroy public education in this country.
I want to talk about the current superintendent of public instruction and a quote that he made. This is the quote, I believe it was from the campaign trail. Liberals are trying to indoctrinate our school children to hate American. Liberal school teachers are trying to indoctrinate our school children to hate America. What do you make of that?
As I said before, I taught for a long time, and as I travel across, I have the honor of traveling across the country and seeing educators in rural schools, in urban schools, suburban schools, everywhere, every state. I have never been prouder to call myself a teacher than I am right now. Because as I see teachers and other educators in our school districts, they are fighting to make sure that they have the professional respect, that they have the authority and collective autonomy to make teaching and learning decisions based on what their kids need, based on processes where they not only partner with parents, but lawmakers too, to establish standards by which they teach. They are not spending their time indoctrinating students. They are spending their time making sure that they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities, not only to prepare them for their next step in their education journey, but to prepare them for life, for the careers, for college. That's what educators are doing, and they're not just doing that. They're standing in the gaps for kids every single day.
How do you get more teachers? Because we've talked for years here in Arizona, teacher retention, teacher recruitment, it's a problem here. I'm assuming it's a problem elsewhere. What do you do?
It is a problem everywhere. And by the way, it's a chronic problem. COVID made it worse because COVID made everything worse. But we at the NEA have been following it for the last couple of decades. And we saw the decline of the number of college students who were going into education. So we've been at this work, recruiting teachers, but also retaining them. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse because, and we asked our teachers, we actually did a survey to find out how many teachers were thinking about leaving the profession. And I will tell you, we were shocked at the results, that 55% of our educators were saying that they were planning. They were actually planning to leave the profession. When you dug into those numbers and you looked at our teachers of color, our Latino teachers were at the high 50s, so more, and our black teachers were over 60% of them were saying they were planning to leave the profession. So we can't only talk about actually attracting, we have to talk about the retention issue too. So I was shocked. So as I traveled around the country, I asked them why. And they said one word: respect. Respect means a lot of things to a lot of people, so I had to dig in a little bit on that. What do you mean by that? And they said, we want to be respected as professionals. We are professionals. We studied, we have the experience. We are not treated as other professionals, allowed to make those teaching and learning decisions for our students. Of course, they talked about professional pay. We still have a 25% wage gap when you compare us to other similarly situated professions. And the last thing they talked about was the ability to do the jobs they love, to have the resources for their students, to meet them where they were, to have working conditions that allowed them to create that inclusive and loving, joyful, highly academic space for them, and that they didn't have those resources. You know that teachers, just generally nationwide, spent almost $500 as they came back to school this year on their classrooms out of their own family's pocket. And so those are the things they talked about. And what's happening at the federal level and at the state level to some degree is going further and further away from that, which is why that teacher shortage is increasing and not being turned around the way it needs to be in this country.
Becky Pringle, National Education Association President. Boy, it's good to meet you. Good to talk with you and speak with you and get your opinion on things. Thank you so much.
Thank you.